She had always teased him about his flashy lifestyle, never imagining the irony life would serve her one rainy evening. Her old, battered car sputtered to a halt on a desolate stretch of road, and panic settled in her chest like ice. Then, out of nowhere, a sleek, black luxury sedan glided up behind her, and behind the wheel was a face she knew all too well, yet couldn't have expected. It was him, her fiancé's older brother, the man whose reputation for wealth and power was whispered about in every corner of the city. And now, he was staring at her with an unreadable expression. Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I never thought my life could feel so ordinary, yet so chaotic all at once. Most days, I woke up in my little two-bedroom apartment, brewed a pot of coffee that always tasted slightly better, and drove my old hatchback through the city's clogged streets to my office job. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't fancy, but it was mine. And yet, there was this constant whisper inside me, a hollow echo that I tried to ignore. Am I enough? Am I worthy of someone who truly dreams bigger than this life I've built? And then there was Ryan, my fiancé. Ryan with his easy laughter, his perfectly styled hair, and that annoying ability to make me feel both cherished and simultaneously self-conscious. He had a habit of joking about my old car, my thrifted outfits, even my simple coffee mug collection. Olivia, he'd say, brushing off my protests, you really do live in a time capsule sometimes. I laughed, mostly because I wanted to, but deep down, the teasing stung. That Thursday afternoon, the sky was an angry slate gray, and the first cold droplets of rain began pattering against my windshield as I navigated the city outskirts. I had been running late, again, and my phone buzzed incessantly with reminders I couldn't respond to. And then, with a sputter that made my heart leap into my throat, the car shuddered violently. Smoke curled lazily from beneath the hood. My knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Not now. Please, not now. I tried to coax the engine back to life, but it was useless. The car sighed one last time and went completely still. I glanced around. The road was empty, lined by fields and the occasional skeletal tree swinging in the wind. Panic clawed at my chest. I grabbed my phone, only to realize the battery was almost dead. I sat there, heart hammering, rain drenching the edges of my jacket, and tried to steady my breath. The thought that maybe no one would come, that I might be stranded for hours, tightened in my chest. And then, headlights. At first, faint, almost ghostly in the downpour, then growing brighter, closer, undeniable. A luxury sedan, impossibly sleek, rolled to a stop behind me. My breath caught. Through the rain-streaked window, I could just make out a tall figure, composed, watching me patiently. There was something hauntingly familiar about the way he leaned slightly on the car door, arms crossed, eyes scanning me like he already knew every little story etched into my anxious expression. And then, as the rain poured harder, I saw him clearly. My pulse froze, my stomach dropped, and every word Ryan had ever teased me about my ordinary life echoed like a cruel prophecy. It was him. The rain blurred the edges of his face at first, but as he stepped closer, every detail became terrifyingly clear. It wasn't just a resemblance. I knew him. I had known him my whole life, even if I had only seen him from a distance in those glossy magazines and whispered conversations at fancy parties. His presence radiated authority and wealth, and yet here he was, standing in the middle of this miserable rainstorm, looking at me like I was the only thing that mattered. He opened the car door with deliberate ease, his shoes clicking sharply against the wet pavement. Need some help? His voice was calm, almost amused, but there was an edge of something I couldn't place, something familiar that made my chest tighten. I swallowed hard, unsure if I should be grateful, scared, or utterly speechless. I My car just died, I stammered. I I don't know what to do. He nodded slightly, as if he had expected this all along. Step aside. In one smooth motion, he popped the hood of my hatchback and peered inside, the rain plastering his hair to his forehead. He didn't say a word, just worked with an ease and confidence that made me feel both insignificant and awestruck at the same time. "Looks like a dead alternator," he said finally, straightening up. "You could wait for a tow, but I can take you somewhere safe." His gaze met mine then, unwavering, and my stomach did a strange flip. There was no judgment in his eyes, only certainty. I hesitated, glancing at my old car, the mud-slicked road stretching endlessly behind us. The rational part of me screamed to refuse, to call Ryan, to do anything but accept a ride from this man. And yet, something in his presence felt like a lifeline I couldn't refuse. "Okay," I whispered. "Yes, thank you." He nodded once and slid into the driver's seat of his luxury sedan, and I followed, my soaked jacket sticking uncomfortably to my arms. The doors shut, sealing us inside a cocoon of warmth and the faint scent of expensive leather. My hands fidgeted in my lap, and I couldn't help stealing glances at him. The city lights reflected off the rain-streaked windows, casting fleeting shadows across his sharp features. He seemed different from what I had imagined from the stories, yet somehow exactly what I had feared. Untouchably powerful, unreachable, and frighteningly compelling. As he started the engine, the hum of the car seemed almost oppressive, a reminder that I was trapped in a moment I didn't understand. Finally, he spoke again, his voice low and deliberate. "You know, your fiancé jokes about your car, but he never told me it would leave you stranded in the rain." I froze. The words were innocent enough, yet the implication hit me like a lightning bolt. He knew Ryan. He knew me. And in that single, deliberate statement, something shifted in the air, a weight I couldn't yet name settling over us. Before I could gather the courage to ask a single question, he glanced at me with a faint smirk, the first hint of humor crossing his face. "I suppose it's time we finally talk." And just like that, the rain outside didn't feel quite so overwhelming. But inside the car, my heart was racing because I knew that what came next would change everything I thought I knew about Ryan, my life, and the world I had been living in. The car glided through the wet streets in near silence, the rain tapping softly against the windows, like it was eavesdropping on a conversation that hadn't even started yet. I kept my hands folded tightly in my lap, my mind racing. Every nerve in my body screamed that I should demand answers, yet my voice refused to work. There was something about the calm authority in his eyes, the way he held himself, that made me feel like I was teetering on the edge of a revelation I wasn't ready for. Finally, he broke the silence. "I suppose you're wondering why I'm here, and why I know your fiancé so well." His tone wasn't accusatory. It was measured, deliberate, like he was choosing his words with care. I nodded, too stunned to speak. The rain smeared the city lights across the windshield, turning everything into streaks of gold and red. My old life, the life I thought was mine alone, suddenly felt fragile and small. "I'm his older brother," he said simply. The words struck me harder than I expected. My mind flashed through every memory of Ryan teasing me, laughing at my car, calling me old-fashioned. And now this man, standing, or rather driving in front of me, carried a presence that screamed power, wealth, and influence. Everything Ryan joked about. It made sense now. "You're joking," I whispered, disbelief twisting my stomach. "Ryan? Your brother?" He gave a faint smile, almost rueful, and shook his head. "No joke, Olivia. And I think you're finally seeing what your fiancé never told you. The things he jokes about, your car, your thrifted clothes, your life, it's because he wanted you to see yourself through your own eyes first. Not mine, not anyone else's, just yours." The words were almost too much to process. My chest felt tight, the weight of years of insecurity pressing down. I had always loved Ryan for his laughter, his warmth, his easy charm, yet I had resented him for teasing me. I had believed my life, my struggles, made me small, ordinary, unworthy. But now, confronted by his brother, someone I had admired from afar as a figure untouchable, untamed, and impossibly perfect, I realized I had been measuring myself against the wrong yardstick. He glanced at me then, and for a heartbeat, the world outside the car disappeared. "Olivia, Ryan cares for you more than you realize, but there's something you need to understand before you see him again." My stomach dropped. Something I didn't expect. A secret. Something that could change everything. What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. His hand rested lightly on the wheel, his gaze fixed forward, and he let out a slow breath. "Your fiancé? He's not just joking about your life. He's protecting it, protecting you. The man you think is ordinary, the one who teases you about this car, your apartment, your little routines, he's been carrying a secret too, and it's time you know the truth." I felt my heartbeat accelerate, the walls of my ordinary world crumbling around me. The rain outside seemed louder now, pressing against the car as if urging me to brace for whatever revelation was about to come. And then, as we turned a sharp corner, the lights of the city reflected off the sedan in a way that made my vision blur. His voice cut through the storm inside me. "He's not who you think he is." The words landed like a hammer. My hands gripped the edge of my seat, my mind racing. Every tease, every laugh, every casual moment with Ryan, it all carried a weight I hadn't understood. And at that moment, I knew everything was about to change. The words echoed in my head, reverberating like a storm that had been building for years. "He's not who you think he is." My chest felt tight, my thoughts a jumble of fear, disbelief, and a strange flicker of hope. He glanced at me, his expression softening. "Olivia, Ryan isn't just your fiancé. He's been leading a double life, a life I can only reveal now because it's safe. He's inherited responsibilities, investments, connections, things that would have made you a target if he hadn't been careful. That's why he jokes about your little car, your simple apartment. He never wanted you to feel insecure. He wanted you to be yourself without fear of anyone else's expectations." I blinked, my mind spinning. My heart had always been full of love for Ryan, but now I realized how little I had truly understood the magnitude of his world, the depth of his sacrifices. The teasing, the jokes, the little digs, they weren't cruel. They were shields, invisible armor he had wrapped around my ordinary life to keep it safe. The sedan slowed, and the rain finally began to let up, leaving a soft mist that shimmered under the streetlights. He parked, turning toward me. "And now," he said, his voice lower, almost conspiratorial, "you're going to see him, the Ryan you've loved all along, but with a truth you never imagined." The car door opened, and I stepped out into the cool, misty night. My old hatchback sat behind us, helpless and tired, a stark contrast to the sleek sedan I had just left. And then, in the soft glow of a street lamp, he appeared. Ryan, my fiancé, my partner in laughter, in dreams, in ordinary life. But tonight, he was different. There was a gravity in his presence, a quiet confidence I had never fully appreciated, a silent acknowledgement that everything he had done, every joke, every tease, had been for me. He smiled when he saw me, a little awkward, a little nervous, like a man finally allowed to show his true self. "Olivia," he said softly, "I was worried. I didn't want you caught in something that could hurt you." I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes, the years of small insecurities and quiet worries washing away in a single, breathtaking wave. "Ryan, I didn't know," I whispered, my voice trembling. I thought you were just teasing me." He reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. I was teasing, yes, but every word, every laugh, every little jab, it was love. I wanted you to feel secure in yourself, without the pressure of the world I live in. I laughed softly through my tears, the sound echoing into the quiet street. "And you thought hiding all of this would protect me?" He nodded. "Yes, and now I hope you understand why I needed to." I looked at him then, really looked, and for the first time I saw all the courage, the devotion, and the vulnerability beneath the jokes and the teasing. My ordinary life had collided with an extraordinary truth, and yet, in that collision, I found clarity. Love isn't about perfection or wealth or appearances, it's about trust, understanding, and the willingness to stand together even when the world seems impossible. I turned, finally, to the sleek sedan that had brought me to this revelation, giving the man who had delivered me safely a grateful nod. He smiled once, a quiet acknowledgement, and drove away, leaving me with Ryan, the man I had always loved and never truly known. And in that misty street, with rain-soaked hair and hearts finally aligned, I realized something profound. Sometimes, the most ordinary lives hold the most extraordinary truths, and love, in its purest form, can survive even the deepest secrets.